Hello and welcome back to Bookish Reshuffle. I'm She, and today we're settling in for one of those slow, absorbing, long-form episodes that you can listen to while you tidy your space. Take a long walk or simply relax in your favorite corner. We're diving into 25 years of the Booker Prize, 25 winners, 25 stories that shaped the last quarter century of literary fiction. If you've ever wondered which Booker Prize winners are actually worth reading, or where do I start with award-winning fiction? This episode will give you the perfect map, not rushed, not academic, just a calm, guided journey through these remarkable books. So take a breath, make yourself comfortable, and let's start right at the beginning of this timeline, the year 2000. When we step back into the early 2000s and look at the Booker winners from that era, there's a very specific mood to them. A lot of thinking, a lot of questioning, a lot of looking inside the human mind. Let's start with the year 2000. 2000, The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. What I find fascinating about The Blind Assassin is how it constantly pulls you into different layers of story. There's memory, there's a family mystery, and then there's this sort of story within a story element that makes the whole thing feel like a puzzle you want to take your time with. Atwood does this thing where she doesn't rush you, she invites you. And that's why this novel still shows up in searches like Best Booker Prize Books to start with, because it's ambitious, but it also knows how to keep a reader close. 2001, True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey. Now, this one is wild in the best possible way. Carey writes the entire book as if Kelly himself is writing it, with rough edges, emotion, and almost no punctuation. It feels chaotic but intentionally so, like you're inside someone's breathless confession. And the Booker Prize loves books that take risks, which this definitely does. It's one of those winners that makes you think, okay, this prize isn't afraid of bold storytelling. 2002, Life of Pi by Jan Martel. This book has traveled across the world. Even people who never read literary fiction know the story: the boy, the tiger, the ocean. But what makes it such a lasting Booker winner is the tone. It's whimsical, but it's deep. It's spiritual, but accessible. It feels like a fable and a survival story at the same time. And that's why Life of Pi is always on lists like Most Popular Booker Prize Winners or Booker Novels Loved Internationally. It just speaks to so many readers. 2003, Vernon Godlittle by D.B.C. Peer. All right, now this one is a shift in tone. It's sharp, satirical, and honestly a little uncomfortable, but intentionally so. Peer takes a dark, absurd look at American culture. And while the novel stirred a lot of debate, it definitely made an impact. It's a good reminder that the Booker Prize sometimes likes books that poke at society with a stick. Books that push buttons and make people talk. 2004, The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst. Now let's slow things down for a moment. Because The Line of Beauty is all about elegance. The writing, the atmosphere, the emotional tension, everything feels polished, but in a very human way. Set in 1980s London, it moves through themes like desire, class, privilege, and politics. And Hollinghurst writes with such care that even quiet moments feel charged. For anyone who loves expressive, detailed prose, this is a must-read Booker winner. 2005, The Sea by John Banville. This is one of the quietest and most introspective Booker novels. It's melancholic, lyrical, and almost painterly in how it describes memory and grief. Banville writes sentences that feel like brushstrokes, slow, precise, reflective. If you've ever searched for beautifully written Booker Prize books or best lyrical literary fiction, this is the one. And that brings us to the end of the early 2000s, a period where the winning books were thoughtful, experimental, and deeply internal. Now we move into a more global, more political, and often more daring period, the late 2000s. The second half of the decade from 2006 to 2010 looks outward, towards migration, inequality, politics, identity, and the complexities of society. 2006, The Inheritance of Loss by Karan Desai. This is one of those novels that carries both tenderness and sharpness. It moves between India and New York, between generations, between longing and belonging. Desai writes with such empathy that even the smallest character moments feel significant. It's one of the Booker Prize's most globally relatable winners. 2007, The Gathering by Anne and Wright. This novel feels like being inside someone's raw, unfiltered memory. It's layered with grief, family conflict, and emotional weight. But it's also incredibly honest Wright doesn't flinch from difficult truths. It's a powerful reminder that Booker winners don't have to be loud. Sometimes the quietest books carry the heaviest impact. 2008, The White Tiger by Aravind Adiga. Bold, darkly funny, unapologetically direct. This novel's voice is unforgettable, sharp, critical, and searingly observant of class and corruption in modern India. When people search Booker Prize winners from India, this book always shows up first, because it's both entertaining and unsettling, a combination that lingers. 2009, Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This wasn't just a Booker win, it was a literary moment. Mantel redefined historical fiction with Cromwell's story. She made the Tudor court feel alive, modern, and incredibly human. It's one of the most influential winners of this entire 25-year period. 2010, The Finkler Question by Howard Jacobson. Funny, philosophical, and deeply reflective. This novel explores friendship, identity, and belonging with humor that doesn't undermine the emotional weight. It's one of those Booker winners that grows on you, quietly, steadily, the more you think about it. The early 2010s were a period of introspection, experimentation, and bold storytelling. As we step into the 2010s, the tone of Booker Prize winners shifts again. We see books that feel quieter on the surface, but emotionally sharp underneath. We see authors playing with structure, memory, identity. The stories become more internal, and yet globally resonant. Let's walk through this period in a way that flows naturally, like moving from one room of thought into another. 2011, The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. There's something incredibly delicate about this novel, almost like it was written to be read in a single thoughtful sitting. It's short but emotionally deep, reflective but not heavy, and it's all about memory, but not memory as a neat record. Memory as something messy, flawed, revisited, reinterpreted. Barnes has this quiet confidence in his writing. He doesn't shout, he doesn't dramatize, he simply lets the truth unfold piece by piece, and in that subtlety, the novel becomes powerful. And that's exactly why it's still on people's Best Short Booker Prize winners search list. It delivers depth without demanding exhaustion. 2012, Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. With this book, Hilary Mantel made history, again. And what I love about Bring Up the Bodies is how it feels both connected to Wolf Hall and sharper, more focused, more laser-like in its emotional intensity. Mantel dives deeper into Cromwell's psychology. We feel the weight of political maneuvering. We feel the quiet moments where loyalty starts to crumble. And we sense that the narrative is narrowing, that big turning points are approaching. It's rare for a second book in a trilogy to win the Booker Prize, but this one deserved it. It proves that Booker judges value consistent excellence, not just one-off brilliance. 2013, The Luminaries by Aline Catton. If the sense of an ending is quiet, The Luminaries is the opposite. It's elaborate, clever, sprawling, and full of structure and symmetry. Set in 19th century New Zealand during the Gold Rush, it weaves together astrology, mystery, and historical drama. This is the kind of Booker winner that people describe as complicated but rewarding, or a novel you live inside for a while. Catton was one of the youngest winners ever, and her confidence shows. She builds a world and then slowly tightens the threads until everything snaps into place. Readers searching for epic Booker Prize novels always end up landing on this one. 2014, The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan. This is a book with incredible emotional gravity. Flanagan writes about Australian prisoners of war forced to build the Thai Burma Railway during World War II. And although the subject matter is heavy, the writing is deeply compassionate. This novel blends love, suffering, memory, trauma, and fragile hope in a way that feels almost elemental. And what stands out is how Flanagan doesn't sensationalize pain. He honors it. He lets the emotional truths rise gently, almost quietly through his prose. This is one of those Booker Prize winners that can be difficult, but unforgettable. 2015, A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James. Now this one is an explosion of voice, style, and scope. Marlon James took on Jamaica's political and cultural history with a novel that refuses to be small. Multiple voices, multiple timelines, energy, chaos, humor, violence, truth. It's the kind of book where you don't read it. You experience it. The storytelling is bold, and the Booker Prize absolutely loves bold. It shows up constantly on searches like most ambitious Booker Prize winners or Booker Prize novels with multiple narrators. And honestly, even if the style feels challenging, there's something hypnotic about it. It's a book that stays inside you long after finishing. So this was the first half of the 2010s, a period that gave us introspective novels, psychologically rich stories, ambitious experiments, and narrative innovation. Each winner during this time does something different. One whispers, one investigates memory, one builds a massive world, one exposes trauma, and one explodes with energy. And now we move into the latter half of the decade, where the Booker Prize becomes even more global, more inclusive, more daring, and at times, a little revolutionary. The late 2010s, a shift toward global voices, bold forms, and deep emotional resonance. By the time we reach 2016, the world of literature, and the world in general, feels different. More global, more fractured, more connected, more aware, and you can feel that evolving energy in the Booker Prize winners of this era. Let's ease into this period gently, like turning a page into a new chapter. 2016, The Sellout by Paul Beatty. Now this one is sharp, a satirical punch to the gut in the best possible way. The Sellout is one of the most daring, provocative Booker winners of the century. Beatty writes about race, identity, injustice, and American history with a voice that is fearless and painfully funny. He takes humor, sharp, biting humor, and uses it as a tool to expose truths people often avoid. And what makes this novel such a landmark Booker winner is its refusal to soften anything. It demands attention, it demands thought, and it demands that readers confront things they might prefer to overlook. It's one of those novels that often shows up in searches like most controversial Booker Prize winners and Booker winners that challenge readers. And rightly so. 2017, Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. And then suddenly, the tone shifts completely. This is one of the most unusual Booker Prize winners, and one of the most beautiful. George Saunders takes a moment from American history, the death of Abraham Lincoln's young son, and reimagines it through voices in a kind of purgatory. It's experimental, yes, but also incredibly emotional. A mixture of grief, love, humor, philosophy, and ghostly reflection. What I love about this book is how tender it is beneath the strangeness. It's a novel about a father's heartbreak, and even though the structure is fragmented, almost like a chorus, the emotion is whole. This is one of those moments where the Booker Prize shows us just how wide the boundaries of fiction can stretch. When people search, most inventive Booker winners, or Booker Prize novels with unique structure, this book always appears. 2018, Milkman by Anna Burns. If you've ever experienced a book that wraps you in a very specific atmosphere, tense, claustrophobic, unsettling, that's Milkman, set in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. Burns tells the story through the voice of a young woman, unnamed, who feels the pressure of rumors, politics, surveillance, and silence. The style is dense, stream of consciousness, intimate, not always easy, but incredibly rewarding. It's a brilliant example of how the Booker Prize celebrates novels that take risks with language and voice. And what stands out is how Milkman captures the feeling of being watched, of being judged, of having no safe space. It's a very internal novel, but its political implications echo outward. 2019, A Rare Moment, a shared prize. And then 2019 brought something unusual. Two winners. 2019, Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. And 2019, The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Let's talk about them separately, because each one contributes something different to this period. Bernardine Evaristo, Girl, Woman, Other. This novel feels alive, vibrant, layered. It flows almost like spoken word, shifting between 12 characters, mostly Black British women and non-binary individuals, across different backgrounds and generations. What's brilliant here is how Evaristo captures voices, real voices, human voices, and how she threads them together into a tapestry of identity, belonging, ambition, motherhood, art, and resilience. This book is constantly searched as the best Booker Prize winner of the 2010s and the most modern Booker Prize novel. And it's easy to see why. It's a celebration of multiplicity. Margaret Atwood, The Testaments, And then Atwood returns, nearly 20 years after her first Booker win. The Testaments is a continuation of the world of The Handmaid's Tale, a world of dystopia, control, power, and resistance. What's fascinating here is that Atwood takes a deeply familiar universe and expands it with new perspectives. Young women growing up within the system, and one voice from inside the very heart of Gilead's structure. This novel feels urgent and contemporary, a reflection of rising concerns about autonomy, governance, and human rights. Together, these two books winning in the same year signal something important about the Booker Prize, that the literary world contains multitudes. 2020, Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stewart. This is one of the most emotionally devastating and tender novels of the last several decades. Set in working-class Glasgow, it follows a young boy, Shuggie, living with his mother Agnes, whose struggles with addiction shape their entire world. What makes this book so powerful isn't the tragedy. It's the love, the fierce, complicated love between mother and child, the resilience, the small moments of beauty in a difficult life. Readers often describe this novel as heartbreaking but unforgettable, and one of the best debut Booker Prize winners. It's written with such honesty that you feel every moment, and it closes the decade with a reminder that literature's greatest power is empathy. So that brings us to the end of 2020, a decade that gave us sharp satire, inventive structure, political tension, polyphonic storytelling, dystopian reflection, and heartbreaking intimacy. Each winner expands what literature can be, what stories can do, and what voices deserve space. Now, we'll move through the most recent winners, from 2021 to 2024, and explore how the Booker Prize is shaping the future of fiction right now. The emerging 2020s, a period defined by multiplicity, global tension, identity, and new directions in storytelling. By the time we step into 2021, the world is deep in change. The pandemic, social shifts, political upheavals, all of these currents ripple into the books being celebrated. And the Booker Prize winners from these years reflect a world trying to understand itself again. Let's slide into this period with curiosity, open to whatever stories we find. 2021, The Promise by Damon Galgut. This novel is like a quiet storm, steady, powerful, building momentum with every chapter. The Promise unfolds across 4 funerals in one South African family, each section capturing a different era. It's a story about apartheid's legacy, broken promises, old wounds, and how history shapes families in ways that linger across decades. What's remarkable about this book is how Galgut shifts perspective. It moves effortlessly, sometimes unexpectedly, allowing the reader to see the same moment from different angles. It's subtle but sharp, spare but emotionally loaded. People often search for Best Booker Prize winners about family and history, or Booker Prize books set in South Africa, and this one always rises to the top. It's a novel that doesn't shout, it whispers truth into your ear, and it stays there. 2022, The 7 Moons of Molly Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka. Now this one is a ride. Wild, vivid, darkly funny, and absolutely unique. Set in Sri Lanka, it begins with Molly Almeida, a war photographer waking up dead. He has 7 moons to solve his own murder and expose the truth behind the violence he captured in life. It's political, it's supernatural, it's humorous, it's heartbreaking, and somehow Karunatilaka manages to merge all of this into a story that moves with surprising lightness. This winner often appears in searches like Most Unusual Booker Prize Winners, Booker Prize novels blending politics and fantasy, Global Booker winners of the 2020s. What makes it so special is how it refuses to be pinned down. It's genre fluid, a mystery, a satire, a ghost story, and a political commentary all at once. It's a reminder that the Booker Prize continues to widen its lens, to embrace voices and storytelling traditions from across the world. 2023, Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. If you've ever read a novel that feels like a warning, a flare lighting up the darkness, that's Prophet Song. Set in a dystopian Ireland, slipping into authoritarianism, the story follows a mother's attempt to protect her family as society quietly descends into chaos. What's striking here is the tension. Lynch writes without traditional paragraph breaks, creating this breathless, claustrophobic reading experience that mirrors the unraveling world of the novel. And even though it's dystopian, It feels painfully realistic, like something that could happen anywhere, which is why readers keep searching for Booker Prize winners with political relevance. Dystopian Booker novels. This is one of those books that feel like both literature and warning siren. It's intense but unforgettable. 2024, Orbital by Samantha Harvey. And now we come to the most recent winner in this 25-year journey, and what a beautiful surprise it is. Orbital is set aboard the International Space Station, unfolding over roughly one day. 6 astronauts, each with their own history. Longings, fears, connections drift above Earth, watching the world from a place of silence and distance. This isn't a sci-fi action novel. It's a meditation, a reflection on humanity, fragility, loneliness, wonder, and everything we carry with us even when we leave the planet. Harvey writes with such grace that even the smallest thoughts feel cosmic. And interestingly, searches like Booker Prize science fiction winners, Booker Prize novels set in space, have skyrocketed because of this book. Orbital shows us that literary fiction is not confined to any one geography, not even to Earth. And it closes this 25-year arc with a sense of expansion, a sense that story has no boundaries left. So when we look at these 2021, 2024 winners together, we see a very modern constellation of themes: fragmentation and unity, political tension and personal fear, global identity, grief and resilience, borders dissolving in genre, geography and narrative style, a curiosity about the future of humanity. In other words, these books aren't just reacting to the world, they're holding up a mirror to it, inviting us to look closer. And that brings us beautifully to the final part of our episode, a reflection on all 25 Booker Prize winners, what they collectively tell us, and how to choose the ones that will matter most to you. Now that we've walked through a full quarter century of Booker Prize winners, 25 novels, 25 distinct worlds, and 25 different ways of understanding what fiction can do, let's slow down for a moment and look at the journey as a whole. When you place these books side by side, a quiet pattern emerges. They don't just tell individual stories, they chart the evolution of our collective imagination. The early 2000s were full of memory, introspection, and experimentation. Books that looked backward to understand loss, identity, and the interior life. The late 2000s stepped outward into politics, global tensions, ambition, social critique. Novels that weren't afraid to be sharp or confrontational. The early 2010s played with form. They asked, how else can a story be told? From psychological introspection to epic structure to historical excavation. The late 2010s broadened the lens again, multiple voices, overlapping stories, bold themes, and a sense of literary risk-taking. And then the 2020s. They are the most reflective of where we are now. Fragmented and interconnected. Hopeful and anxious. Global, political, intimate, unpredictable. Stories that stretch from war-torn Sri Lanka to dystopian Ireland to the quiet orbit of the International Space Station. Taken together, these Booker Prize winners are not just books. They're a map of the last 25 years of human thought, where we've been, what we've questioned, what we've feared, and what we've hoped for. And that's a powerful thing for a set of novels to hold. Now, I know, looking at a 25-book list can feel overwhelming. Where do you begin? How do you choose? Do you go in order? Do you pick by theme, by country, by mood? So here's a gentle approach you can use. Think of this less like homework and more like a curated buffet. One where every dish has been hand-selected because it offers a unique flavor. Let's explore a few reading paths you might take. 1. Start with the books that feel alive to you right now. Reading is seasonal. If you're in a reflective mood, you might lean toward The Sense of an Ending, or The Sea, if you're drawn to bold voices and energy. Maybe The White Tiger, or The Sellout, if you want something immersive and atmospheric. Wolf Hall, or The Luminaries, might be perfect. Your mood is a compass, follow it. 2. Read across continents. One of the beautiful things about these winners is how global they are. India in The White Tiger, South Africa in The Promise, Sri Lanka in The Seven Moons of Molly Almeida, Jamaica in A Brief History of Seven Killings, Australia in True History of the Kelly Gang, the United States in The Sellout, the UK in The Line of Beauty, Milkman, Girl, Woman, Other, and even outer space in Orbital. If you choose a reading journey by geography, you'll see just how interconnected our world has become. 3. Try a style-based reading route. If you love structure and experimentation, Lincoln in the Bard, The Luminaries, Girl, Woman, Other. If you love character-driven emotional depth, Shuggy Bane, The Gathering, The Narrow Road to the Deep North. If you want humor with sharp edges, The Sellout, Vernon God Little. Let your stylistic preferences guide you. 4. Or read them like a time-lapse film. Start at 2000. Move through each year. Watch the world shift under your feet. You'll see how fiction stretches, how new voices rise, how themes emerge and fade and return again. This is a beautiful way to understand how literature responds to time itself. The Booker Prize is not perfect. No award is. But what these 25 books give us, beyond their individual brilliance, is a collective conversation about who we are. Whether a novel takes place in a small Irish town, a South Asian afterlife, a dystopian nation, or the quiet orbit above Earth, each one asks the same essential question. What does it mean to be human in this moment? And that's why these books matter. That's why we return to them. And that's why they continue to appear in searches like Best Booker Prize Novels, Booker Prize Winners Worth Reading, Fiction Classics of the 21st Century. Thank you for spending this long, reflective episode with me on Bookish Reshuffle. I hope visiting these 25 Booker Prize winners over the last 25 years has given you new insights, new book ideas, and maybe even a new reading journey to look forward to. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a comment sharing which Booker Prize winner you want to read first, and share this with someone who loves thoughtful, award-winning fiction as much as you do. I'm She, and until next time, may the right book find you exactly